Assalamu alaikum, guys. We are on chapter 10, lesson 2. We're going to be discussing the accumulation of interest. Now, for today's lesson, we're going to be dealing only with simple interest, and the formula for simple interest is I is equal to PRT. Now, the I stands for interest, so whenever you use this formula, the final result is going to be the amount of interest that was earned on the account. The P stands for the principal. In other words, it's always a dollar amount, and the principal is always the initial amount that you invest. Then the rate is represented with the R, so the R stands for rate, and it's always a percentage, okay? And then T is always time, and it's always in years. So for today's lesson, guys, we're going to be dealing with only the simple interest. Tomorrow, we'll be dealing with the compound interest, inshallah. Now, with compound interest, the formula's a little bit different, so we'll wait for that until tomorrow. Today you get one assignment, you'll only work on part of it, then you wait for the lecture for tomorrow, and you end up doing the second part of the assignment. So for your instructions for today, you are to determine the interest earned, and you're also to determine the account balance. In other words, how much is going to be in the account after the end of the term. So for example, we've got $3,000 that are going to be invested. They're going to be invested at a rate of 9%, and the total time is going to be 10 years. So let's go ahead and write our formula. I is equal to PRT. Now the interest is going to equal to the principal, which is $3,000. We're going to multiply it to the rate, which is 9%, and then we're going to also multiply it by the number of years, which is 10. Now, I cannot multiply straight away there. I need to change the 9% into a decimal form. So what is 9% in decimal form? Is going to be, remember the percent is always over 100, it's like the decimal to the left twice. It equals to 0.09, and then don't forget to drop the 10. After this, guys, go ahead and use your calculator. 3,000 times 0.09 times 10, you should get 2,700, okay? So that means that only interest alone, the account has an additional 2,700. So if I'm going to answer how much interest, the amount is 2,700. Now, if we're talking about the balance in the account, so we're assuming that you're not touching any of the money throughout the whole 10 years. You just deposited 10,000. How it's going to be in the whole account? Obviously, it's going to be the 2,000 plus the 3,000. So the account balance will be plus the 3,000, and the balance will be 5,700. So interest alone is 2,700. The balance, this is the balance, will be 5,700. Okay? So let's try another one. What about if we have 1,500 that's being invested? 1,500. The rate that is going to be invested is at 4.25%, and the duration of the term is for 5 years. So again, I is equal to PRT. I is equal to 1,500 times 4.25%, and then times 5. Now go ahead and change your 4.25%. So, I mean, this is going to be an extra step. You don't have to do it exactly this way, but I don't want you to substitute and then just give me an answer. Develop the formula as it is required. Remember that 4.25% is the same thing as 4.25%, and don't forget your 5 years. This, even though it's in decimal form, you cannot drop the percentage sign until you actually slide the decimal twice to the left. So be careful with that, because that's usually where kids end up thinking, oh, it's in decimal form, I'm ready to multiply. No, you're not. So 1,500, and then this becomes 0.0425, and then times 5. Once you get to this point, go ahead and multiply 1,500 times 0.0425 times 5, and then you get 318.75. So if I'm to answer, the interest is $318.75, and then the balance is the $318.75, and plus the initial amount of investment, which is 1,500, and the total balance on the account for this problem should be $1,817.75. So it should be $1,818.75. So my interest, $318.75. My account balance is $1,818.75. So for the last example, it's not always given to you in perfect years. So what happens then? So let's say that you have $4,000 to invest, and your rate is going to be 3%. So that's 3%, and it is for 18 months. Okay? So what is 18 months? 18 months is the same thing as 1.5 years, right? So go ahead and use I is equal to PRT. The initial amount is 4,000. The rate is 3%. The number of years is 1.5. And then go ahead and change everything into decimal form. The percentage needs to be a decimal, and the number of years in decimal. So I is equal to 4,000 times 0.03 times 1.5. Okay? And then if you go ahead and use your calculator, 4,000 times 0.03 times 1.5, you will get 180. So in interest alone, there's $180 in the account. However, the balance is the 180 plus the initial 4,000, and final balance on the account is 4,180. So 4,180. Now this one is pretty simple. So this is the first half, guys. Tomorrow we'll do the second half. Tomorrow it's going to be a little bit more trying, especially if you don't have the appropriate calculator. Now you can use obviously a graphing calculator and also this type of calculator because it can raise to a power. But if you have a simple 4-function calculator, you're going to have really bad issues. So that's when I would suggest that you find somebody in class that has a graphing calculator or at least some type of scientific calculator that you can raise a power with an exponent that is larger than, 2, 3, or 4, because otherwise you cannot sit there and multiply to the exponent because the exponent is going to get pretty large. If you have any questions, guys, don't hesitate to come to class, inshallah. Yalla, see you inshallah.